eating themselves into sickness, literally. With every bite, we're consuming chemicals and oils that weren't even in our diet a century ago. Harvard Public Health reports that 1,400 Americans die annually from food-borne illnesses, and 678,000 die from chronic diseases like obesity, diabetes, and heart disease driven by ultra-processed foods. Have you ever actually considered how much the food on your plate shapes your overall health and well-being? Well, you should, if you haven't already. But thanks to my parents, I started to early on. They were always very mindful in choosing which foods entered our home. Still, like any kid, I couldn't resist the pantries filled with off-limit snacks at friends' houses which felt like hidden treasure to me. I didn't realize it then, but I would later be so grateful to have grown up in such a healthy household. One day, my mom had messaged me something. Unlike the usual attachments I'd scroll past, sorry Mom, this intrigued me. A podcast episode featuring siblings Casey and Callie Means discussing our fractured healthcare system and how food in our country is making us sicker instead of healthier. This got me thinking, not just about what I was eating, but about the system that put that food on my plate in the first place. I started questioning how we got here, asking why food is making us sicker, and how did health in our country decline so drastically? I want to help you understand the basic structure of our food system and how it has failed us. But the truth is, it has always been flawed. The US was a global leader in life expectancy not too long ago, but we've fallen behind. So what happened? Well, to understand this, we have to go back in time. In the mid-1900s, the Green Revolution introduced pesticides and genetically modified organisms to boost crop yield. This worked, but at a cost. Soil became damaged and we focused more on big, high-yield crops over quality. This shift led to the rise of processed foods, cheap, convenient, and everywhere. And while they're easy and affordable, they're also awful for our health. Now, we're living sicker, not longer. However, this is not a hopeless situation, but instead should catalyze change. One of the most pressing issues is the overwhelming presence of processed foods in the American diet. Foods that are altered from their natural state with additives, preservatives, and artificial ingredients to boost shelf life and enhance flavor. According to the Center for Disease Control, over 60% of the American diet is processed, and researchers estimate that around 73% of the American food supply is ultra-processed. While not every American is directly exposed to pesticides, we consume them daily through residues left on our food, no matter how much we wash them. Each year, the U.S. uses 1 billion pounds of pesticides, and a study done by Rocky Vista University and Eastern Virginia Medical School linked pesticides like atrazine and glyphosate to higher cancer risks for colon and pancreatic cancers, and found that regions with heavier pesticide use tend to have higher cancer rates, calling for more thorough assessments. But the effects go beyond cancer. Pesticides are messing with our bodies in ways we don't even realize, contributing to fertility issues, ovarian disorders, and even earlier onset puberty in young girls. However, pesticides are not the only problem. Other chemicals pose serious risks to our health as well. Take a look at these chemicals. You probably needed a second to pronounce them. I certainly did. So then why are we putting them in our bodies? DDT, though banned, still lingers in our environment, and chlorpyrifos, a pesticide, has been linked to lower IQ scores and developmental delays in children, as shown by a UC Berkeley study. Over time, these chemicals build up in our bodies through bioaccumulation, meaning that the constant exposure to these pesticides accumulates in our tissues and organs, causing long-term damage. How many of you have tried crumble cookies? Well, have you ever stopped to check the ingredients? I know it can be so easy to indulge without having to think about what's in your food, but if you take a second to read the label, you just might be shocked. For example, the salted caramel pretzel pie cookie has over half of its ingredients comprising of synthetic preservatives and chemicals. We're talking bleached wheat flour, corn syrup, and disodium phosphate, things the body does not recognize as nourishment. Plus, corn syrup messes with insulin levels, and disodium phosphate is often found in cleaning products, which is not something I think you would want to have in your bodies. As my dad always says, if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. And though that did stick with me for a while, it wasn't until I realized that not everything with an unusual name is bad, like ascorbic acid, which is just vitamin C. But figuring out what's unhealthy isn't always that simple, which is why some people use apps like Yuka or Olive, which scan barcodes to reveal what's inside your food. But it's not about avoiding treats entirely. It's just about being aware of the other organic and natural alternatives. By taking into account our current health, we become more mindful of the foods we eat, and the growing connection to increasing rates of chronic illness, like early onset dementia. According to Blue Cross Blue Shield, Alzheimer's diagnoses have surged by 200% since 2013 and is now being called type 3 diabetes. Why? Insulin resistance. As neurologist Daniel Merman says, when the brain becomes resistant to insulin, it messes with how the brain gets energy. Well, what causes this? Well, several factors, but processed foods are a big contributor. This sets off a domino effect, leading to issues like fatty liver disease, autoimmune disorders, and obesity. According to the National Institute of Health, 18.5% of adolescents and young adults have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And an article from Stanford Medicine shows that 24 to 50 million Americans are living with autoimmune disorders. And a study from the CDC found that 73% of Americans 20 years and older were overweight or obese as of 2018. As Dr. Casey Means explains, these health issues are deeply interconnected, yet we often treat them as separate problems. The way we eat plays a significant role in their development, but we have the power to create change by simply altering our diet. After traveling around Europe, I noticed the food felt fresher and left me feeling more energized. Unlike the processed foods in America, which often make me feel sluggish. Take high fructose corn syrup, for example. In the US, it's everywhere, in bread, yogurt, and even salad dressing. But in the UK, it's heavily regulated. Europe has stricter regulations with fewer chemicals and additives in food, like glyphosate, leading to better digestion and overall health. So why aren't we doing the same in the US? Take a look at these two images of Fruit Loops. One is from the US and the other from Canada. Notice how much brighter the US version is? That's because artificial dyes make food look more appealing. Dyes like red 40, blue 1, and yellow 6 are added to food because they're cheaper to produce than natural colorants from plants or animals. And besides, we eat with our eyes first anyways. The brighter the food, the better we assume it tastes. The more we eat, the more companies make. But the thing is, these dyes offer zero nutritional value, and in fact, they do the opposite. A 2021 report by California's Office of Environmental Health Hazard found that synthetic dyes cause neurobehavioral issues and hyperactivity in children like ADHD. While these dyes do make our food look more appealing, their impact on our health is something we simply cannot ignore. Recently, I cut out processed foods from my diet, and I immediately felt the difference. Less bloating, clearer skin, and more energy. And I'm not alone. A study by Dr. Kevin D. Hall at the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases found that admitted 20 healthy volunteers for a month-long trial comparing processed foods and whole foods. Those on the processed diets consumed 500 more calories daily and gained weight, while those on the unprocessed diets lost weight, ate less, and enjoyed their meals just as much. This was one of the first studies proving that ultra-processed foods actually drive overeating and weight gain, giving all the more reason to eat whole foods. Our country is starting to wake up and take action. In Santa Cruz, California, a food as medicine program was launched providing low-income residents with access to organic produce and nutrition education, decreasing diet-related diseases. The Edible Schoolyard Project by Alice Waters integrates gardens and organic cooking classes into school curriculums, helping students develop healthier eating habits and a deeper connection to their food sources. Similar efforts are happening nationwide. West Virginia has banned artificial dyes, and Arizona is pushing for healthier school lunches. These initiatives signal a shift towards prioritizing nutrition, proving that a more nutritious food system is possible. Food can either heal or harm. The right choices can boost your health, while the wrong ones can lead to long-term damage. It's time we reclaim control over our health. Start small, but start today. Replace one processed snack for a more natural option. These little changes do add up. Improving your health is within your control. Will you take the steps towards a healthier life? The choice is yours.